And we just went live right now. So here's the intro. And we are Rickless today, unless he happens to get some time to chime in because he's doing some work right now. But Anton is here.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, before I space it out, we'll take a look at our sponsors, and I will try to yell over the music and announce who they are. Jazz Cabbage is sponsored by Real Leaf Solutions, Detroit Nutrients Company, Brook, Michigan, Custom Ford Promotions, and Culture Clothing. Hopefully you can read it at least if you couldn't hear me say it.
We could hear you.
I should fix that one of these days. But so far, so good, working without it. So we have a few people joining us today and discussing a few things. And one thing I'm really interested in is to find out how the hearing on House Bill 5512 and the Regulatory Reform Committee went today. I didn't check in on it while it was going on. That the committee could be still being in session right now, and they could have gotten to the issue or not by now. I really don't know. I did get a text that said neutral. So what I did not get is what that means necessarily. So Shelly Smith joined us, or whether or not it had to do with that situation, but it was from Trish. And she was going to try to be there with Amie Carter today. So Shelly, how you doing? Been a little while since you checked in.
It's been so good, but I just got crazy news from my job, and I'm like, I'm going to take just a wee break.
Nice.
Go get a joint and hang out with you guys.
Good.
I'll be right back after getting said joint.
Right on. We'll talk to you a little bit when you get back. She's been doing the Weeds and Reeds show a lot, and there's been a couple of cool ones I guess we could hear about. But what was I just talking about? Must not have been that important if you guys have no clue.
Look, Trish.
Oh, that's right. So, and I wasn't sure like if that was necessarily meant for me.
Latricia's on top of it. She would know.
Yeah, or what the deal is. But she just did let me know that they'll be on in a little bit. So it'll be interesting. All right, Rick says he's got a good signal, so maybe he'll be chiming in. I am interested to hear. I'll write her back.
So we may not be Rickless then. Oh boy.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Rick situation. He's doing some vendor stuff for redemption, which is noble, and I think it's at Nobo, if I'm not mistaken, and let us know what's going on with that too if he happens to get in here. I've gone out and met him at some of those, and I've been involved in some of those things. It's fun sometimes doing the vendor days and meeting a lot of people and discussing the product. Depending on what's going on with redemption, of course, you can talk to people about Ryan's story and how purchases ultimately end up helping a lot of the things that we all care about and work with and that type of stuff, with getting people out of jail, getting people's records expunged. Of course, while bringing that up, I must say the Botanical company supports me to work with that stuff too quite a bit. And we actually are getting a lot of stuff done after one full year of Glenn. I think there's been like 1,000 applications with, I'm not sure what the number is, several hundred people having items from their records expunged. So I think the original estimate was 50 or 60 in the first year or something like that. But anyway, so I guess we're going to have to wait and find out what the deal is. I'm curious to learn about what's going on. I got a letter back from was it Representative Lisinski today, and it had to do with her response to 5512. And it's, of course, it's way after the fact. She's a House representative that passed out of the House, a little while ago now. And she was like very proud of her support for it. I mean, I'm really hoping that she thinks it's good, and isn't, necessarily in cahoots with these power hungry judges that want to play doctor. But I just really want to encourage lawmakers and try to slip it in nicely in every conversation that, this is kind of a complex issue, and to speak with a lot of people who understand these things would really help out with getting good information for the decision-making process. And I am just kind of concerned that, well-intended or not, they're working on bad information or lack of information. And I don't have a good feeling of being able to reverse this trend on 5512. So we can continue to try to affect change. So there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to get on record. There's no reason not to continue contacting your senators and everybody.
Wait, did I miss something about this bill? Did it pass the Senate as well?
Not yet. It's actually being heard in the Regulatory Reform Committee in Senate. So it's on a fast track to go through the Senate process, and it begins now. They're talking about it. Either they are, or they will. This moment right now, and we'll get a check-in from some people who are there.
Oh God. Okay. Yikes.
And so I'm not feeling that optimistic, but it would be nice in the Senate if we could just get, I think it's something, would it be 6 or 7 no votes? I'm not sure what that number is. I guess
not many.
Easily do the math, but you don't need that many. And I had some good conversations with people this weekend. I was on the phone with a staffer from Senator Bullock's office. That's my senator from Detroit area. Also head of the Black Caucus, I believe. So a very important vote, especially for Democrats and other Black Caucus members. And, at least the staff person seemed to be very in tune and understanding of what the issues are. That doesn't always translate into the same vote with the senator or the representative, unfortunately. So we'll still have to wait and see about that. But I did then have a meeting with Zara Abbas and myself as part of the Cannabis Caucus with Senator Hertel. And that went pretty well. And his concern was the fact that they don't propose doing one of these extra hearings and having the person bring in their doctor and then the judge is making a decision about whether or not there was a proper relationship and whether or not the person should continue to use this medicine and stuff like that. He was concerned that there's no plan to do that for like every type of medication that somebody may have. Why not have that extra scrutiny or that research or that investigation, I guess it is, every single time. So hopefully he stays with us. It was a little discouraging in the House. We had great conversations with people. We had people saying, hey, if they don't add some amendments, they don't change this, I'm not voting for it, all types of stuff. But then it came down to the day, and unfortunately we had a lot of support from those people who we were expecting to be more on our side.
That's why you can't trust a lot of these politicians. I mean, a lot of them are just, they're talking out both sides of their mouths, and it's so hard for the political process to go to evolve in a healthy manner when you just simply can't trust what they say, which on its face, it's horrible.
I think.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, I think they also think they're doing the right thing. I think they think that
many of them
are on board with this, and this is what the courts want. And
yeah.
Many of them do have that mindset. That's why I think Representative Lisinski was excited about telling me about her vote,
Yeah.
Like they think, how can they not see all the bureaucracy it's going to create? How do they not see that?
Well, they do, but they think that they think two things. This is an avenue for medical marijuana patients to even be able to be involved in these specialty courts. Right. And they also think that it preserves or helps out with some kind of federal funding scenario too. There's been a lot of misinformation about this. So if you really believed that this could affect funding for these specialty courts, I don't particularly care for, I mean, maybe Veterans Court or something, you know, makes sense. I don't really know that much about it. I don't really care for sobriety court or drug court. I'm not as high on it, I guess, as some people are, but many people really care about it, and they think that it needs funding, or certainly the funding it gets shouldn't be interfered with. So if you really believe that, you would think you were doing a good thing in this case. And if you thought that this was the only avenue for cannabis patients to be able to choose to use volunteer courts over, you know, harsh sentences, then you might be inclined to believe you're doing the right thing. And that's probably too often.
There's this really like basic thing, if you're a coach or a counselor or an addiction counselor, anything like that, where somebody says they're going to make a choice and you say, play that out, right? And you make them say, well, if we did this, then that would happen and that would happen and that would happen. It helps them see their decision. And I feel like anybody that is asked to play this out, it's just impossible. It's impossible.
Well, and I've explained several different ways, just pick one of the bad, stupid fucking issues out of this whole thing and try to explain it a little bit more in a kind of a concise space and try to get this through. And it's difficult. It takes, I mean, I don't want to say people aren't smart or something, but it takes people who really want to think about it and take the information in and have to get over some preconceived notions. And it's not easy sometimes to get this point across, even when you think you've had the best conversation in the world. And this is why I essentially quit, I guess, lobbying / trying to go have several meetings with lawmakers years ago, was because the repeated pattern of these people lying right directly to my face started dragging down on my time and energy and stuff like that. Now this time coming back in, I have a little bit more awareness of it, so it's not quite as bad, but it still goes on.
Yeah, after like 1,000 times, you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You guys are lying to me.
I've seen it between a lot of people, having these discussions about, how it's going on. And the first thing clicks, hey, you know what? Maybe we should have like a meeting and make sure they all know all this information. And have them all, come together and learn about this together. And then, we can get these points across. And if it were like that, that would be awesome. And sometimes you can get a little bit done like that, but the reality is that there's a lot of transactional stuff that goes on. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Things are ultimately bottom line oriented.
Yeah, I feel like there should definitely be less magic tricks in business meetings. You know what I mean? Smoke and mirrors. Just what if it was that obvious? That would be at least more fun,
Hey, we've been infiltrated. We thought it was going to be Rickless. Is that what they
is?
And the crew from Novo. Hey, everybody. Yay.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, which location is that? Where are you?
We are in Novo Battle Creek. Novo's got 4 locations, right? And today, Redemption Cannabis is in all 4 locations of Novo doing vendor days. Isn't that pretty exciting?
I'm assuming Josie and Crystal and Kyle. Well, just the other people at the other stores, probably Josie, Crystal, Kyle.
Right. I only care about myself, so I didn't look at any of those other people. So
that's a nice little beautiful little clip just to put out.
The tongue out. Not the first time y'all have seen that. So
less than ego-filled person here, John Schlicker, to look at Novo with us.
Oh, John's here too.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
What's up, John?
Beautiful day here in Northeast Michigan.
It is.
Ready for our party.
And hippie Big Daddy tie-dye Marc Ryan should be joining us in a little bit too.
Cool.
I can't switch the camera. Okay, how's that? Can you see yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, lots of fun here. I just wanted to check in and say hello, everybody. And we're thinking about you at Jazz Cabbage Cafe while I'm here working hard while y'all are sitting on your butts, just letting you know. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks
Thanks,
pretty
Rick.
popular, Rick.
Say hello to everybody there. Glad you're there promoting a good cause ultimately, because as we know, the Redemption Foundation gets behind a lot of these great charities and projects and things like that we all agree with and work on behalf of and stuff like that. So,
Right. Oh, customers coming. I'm gonna go. Thanks, everybody. Jazz Cabbage.
all right, check back in if you can, if you'd like. All right, we are Rickless again, or Tricky Dickless.
Oh dear.
But John Schlicker has joined us. John, you are just a silhouette, by the way, or maybe that, or just your beard is just totally taken over your face at this point.
He's using the drama filter.
The what? Yeah, I don't know what I'm using.
He's using the silhouette filter.
You don't know what you're
I'm
using,
here.
and you don't know what you're on.
Oh, hey, well, I don't know if I can say what I'm on here. But life is good. Life is good, and I just got back home from doing some running, getting supplies and whatnot for the party this weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, since you're here and you just brought it up, why don't you explain the full day on Saturday? It sounds like there's a lot involved, and it starts off around noon. It could go till about 10 o'clock at night.
Correct. We got that Northeast Michigan Lower Peninsula chapter of MiNORML is hosting a free public meeting starting at noon. We got Michael Pyle coming to talk about decriminalized nature and the ballot initiative. And I got Rick and Jamie coming talking about the
You know what? I hate to say it, but the
legislative
Northeast
issues
Michigan normal meeting may be Rickless also.
Yeah, that might be true.
Although, if you want to still say he's coming because you think that it'll attract another, couple hundred people, then
Yeah, right.
I totally understand.
We're going to discuss things that's going on in Lansing with legislature right now and bring that to the public up here, those that aren't aware, and try to gain some more support to fight for our cause and freedoms.
Right on.
And then we're going to move into a party later on. We're going to have a couple of bands starting at 6 o'clock. We'll have music all afternoon, but we got bands starting at 6. 6 o'clock, got the Drift, good classic rock band out of northern Michigan here. And then at 8 o'clock is Stoker.
Right. So Stoker sounds familiar. Have they been at the
They've
other
been at
events?
all my events that I've ever done.
So that makes sense.
They're my homeboys, and they rock.
What town is this in? Remind me.
The party it's in Lincoln, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
The address 2071 East Trask Lake Road. That's Trask Lake Road. And it's a little town here in northern Michigan, about halfway between Tawas City and Alpena, over on the east side, Lake Huron.
Marc Ryan's trying to get in, just so everybody knows, but the connections must not be that great where he is.
Yeah. And going to be here at my place. Going to be a fun guy, great time.
Fun guy, great time. Yes, I bet so. Yeah. It's going to be all kinds of
We're
fun
looking for, we're asking $20 to get into the party later in the afternoon and evening. Paid members to our chapter get a $5 discount. So,
and so you have to pay for to put the event on. You have bands, you have other stuff happening there. That costs a little bit. And then I would imagine some of the proceeds go to the chapter too, right?
They do.
And that chapter,
all proceeds are going direct to the chapter to help and continue to bring the activism here in Northeast Michigan.
Well, right on. And I just want to support the fact that chapter does a lot of work. There aren't many normal chapters anymore. There's a few, and they do some stuff, but it's good. But I don't think there's anything that compares to Northeast Michigan Normal now. Unless I'm wrong.
And you're correct. We are one of the very few active chapters left. I got a great team of supporters up here. Really helped
And
out
you guys
a
do a
lot.
lot of stuff, not just in Northeast Michigan NORML. You go all over the state to support, something.
Yes, we
when
do.
needed.
Yes, we do. When cause or need arises, we will go to support.
So,
What?
point being, if you go spend $15 or $20 to be a part of this, it's talking about a nice summer day around a lake in Northeast, upper,
That's right.
upper lower
I'm not
peninsula,
mad at
Northeast
it.
Michigan.
You see, there's the background. If you can see the lake that's in behind me.
Oh, I'm sold.
That looks
There you go.
nice.
That's a
Beautiful
good
little
shot.
lake right here. We're gonna have a bonfire, and we're gonna have a couple of bands playing on stage, like I said. You get to look at this beautiful view that I'm so blessed with every day.
Oh yeah.
What
Of
type of
course,
crowd are you expecting, John? Do you have a number of people that you think are going to show up, or is it just kind of last minute?
I'm not sure I heard that all correct. How many
Well,
people do
you
I
have
think will show up?
an estimated attendance for the event.
Well, we did a similar event last Halloween, and we had about 30 people. This time, I really do anticipate all of that, maybe double. That'd be great.
So the point being, it's a very cool, relaxed, chill atmosphere. Nobody's going to be sardined in there. It's a beautiful little area, and
Exactly.
if you want to take
And
some
for
time
any
now
of
to
you
go to
coming from
remote.
downstate, I do have enough room. You can pitch a tent in the yard.
There you go, camp, free camping. You might want to
That's
donate
right.
a little bit. Well, very cool.
It
So,
is. It's beautiful. And nobody's gonna harass you. You can feel free to do as you please. Peace, love, and hippiness.
so kind of a smaller,
Everything.
informal thing to what's been going on lately. Adam just got back from an event in Jones. Is it Jones, Michigan?
Jones, yeah.
Put on by Big Cloud.
Yep.
And a little bit larger version and a little bit more organized, same elements involved.
Right?
And,
How'd that go, Adam? I was
fun
interested.
time.
I
Oh, it's
wanted
very
to make
successful.
it down, but I couldn't make it.
Okay. Yeah, it was
Yeah, it
very,
sounded like it was a blast, man. I saw a lot of the pictures and stuff like that, and last night on Medical Mondays it was discussed. So sounds like I missed out on that one.
yeah.
But those things are going on all over the place, and they're just cool. It's fun. It's well, I mean, they go on throughout the year, but it's like summertime. You can be outside. You can be around the lakes. You can go to remote areas, and
It's
different
good news.
places.
I like it. Let's talk about good news more.
Yeah.
All right.
What
Yes,
else
we
is
need to.
good?
Well, it's good news until people decide that they don't like it and they draw some attention to some of those things. That's a concern.
No. Let's just stay with good news. Good news. Everybody. Anton, go. Good news.
Positive
News,
vibes.
well, hey, the sun is shining today. Any day that happens, it's a good day for me.
It was cloudy earlier, but the sun is out now. I think that happened around the
It's
same
true.
time the show started.
It's summertime. I mean, we talk about these events. I mean, we only have 4 months out of the year, 5 months of really good weather to appreciate each other and get together where we're not all kind of crammed indoors. I mean, this is the time of year when Michigan kind of gets to shine. These
Yes.
events that are popping up are some are organized, some aren't organized, and that's the beauty is that they all have their own energy, and
Yes.
it's usually positive. It's usually positive.
I can't wait to festival. I've got all these festivals coming up. I just can't wait to go.
Right.
Standing around
Speaking of
outside.
festivals,
Oh my gosh, I saw Robert Plant and Allison Krauss last night at Pine Knob,
No way.
which is called Pine Knob again. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Everybody fit in the pavilion. He was amazing. So that's good news. Free tickets to see Robert Plant up close. It was
awesome.
wonderful. It was perfect weather.
That is awesome. I saw Allison Krauss
Yeah.
at Union Station at
They're so
the Hill
good.
Auditorium years ago as a fundraiser for the Ark.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they're so good. They're
was
so perfect. It was blew me away. You know, it's hard to live up to what you think Alison Krauss and Robert Plant are going to be like, but they were exactly that and a little bit more.
That's a cool venue too. I mean,
Yeah.
you're always going to catch a good show there.
Yeah, it sounds great. It's beautiful. It was great.
I saw
Summer vibe.
it was James Taylor and Jackson Brown there last summer. That was a great show.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, that is good. Yay.
What else is good going on, Shelly? What do you got going? Anything?
What is good going on? Well, Reeds and Weeds is still kicking.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting is what I like that's happening right now is that people 2 or 3 degrees of separation away will say, hey, ask that lady if we can do this book because I want to be on that show. And then it comes up, you know, it makes great connections and it gets people to have great conversations that would never otherwise have those conversations. And then all of a sudden I have a bunch of listeners somewhere new and interesting. Like, I don't know how they find me or whatever. And then that's fun. It's like, why do I have all these people in Nigeria or whatever, a tiny town in Canada, and all of a sudden there's like all these people there, and I don't know how any of that happened. So it just seems like little magic connections everywhere. So that's fun. And I've been doing some things with Decriminalized Nature. I was actually with Julie Barron a couple of weeks ago when we went to East Lansing City Council, and there was 10 of us there live and 5 people over Zoom at the East Lansing City Council meeting. And it was so beautiful. Our crew was so prepared. We hit every angle. We were personal. We were professional. So much so that the council members kept thanking us and saying how impressed they were. But also, they were the first city to not pass the resolution.
Yeah. I was going to say that they didn't pass. You're sounding so
They didn't
positive.
pass. They didn't pass. And we were there all night, but their city attorney and the chief of police were sitting right in front of them. And they had the stance that we don't want to put our police officers in the position of whose law do I follow at this moment? And it would be too much.
They're not ever in that position.
Yeah, I'm like.
They follow the local law. That's what their job is.
Right.
They love local ordinances.
Right. But that was their stance at the moment. And even though they said, oh my gosh, everybody commented on us being there and how it made sense to them and blah, blah, blah. And then that was the conclusion. And it just reminded me how plodding the pace of change is. You know, how boring it is at times. You know, it's not screaming in the street. It's these long ass meetings where you go paragraph by paragraph, you know, and talk about the budget in little, and then everybody gets up and talks, and, you know, it's not glamorous. There's nothing.
I remember going into some little towns like over the years, and on agenda first is like whether or not they're going to create an easement so Farmer Brown can, you know, drive his tractor.
Yes.
Space. Yes. And then they're like, okay, now how are we going to handle cannabis? You know?
Yeah, there's so much, and it's just on the agenda, like whatever the city's talking about that day. And some of it's an issue that's been in place for 25 years. And I actually was really interested in this particular meeting. I thought it was fascinating as far as those things go. And if you're a listener who's never been at a city council meeting, you got to do it, because if you think you know what's going on in your city, you have no idea. And if you think you know whose side people are on, you probably have no idea. And a lot of people that run their mouth never participate. They would never go to one of those things. They just like, it's easy to sit at home and run your mouth online, but going to those long ass boring meetings and actually having a face-to-face with your elected officials is a different story altogether. So those are the people that I'm like, way to go. I've seen Rick. What's that?
So local politics is tough. It's like you said, I think
Yeah.
it's some of the most boring politics, but it's some of the most
Yeah.
impactful that impact,
It's where it
the
starts.
average everyday person. Yeah, it's where it starts. Exactly.
It's where it starts. Yeah.
I found it much more entertaining than television for many years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I started out really in Ann Arbor doing it, and because Ann Arbor had a cable system early on, they were able to broadcast their city council meetings. And as a one-issue guy in the city of Ann Arbor, my issue really wasn't that popular. I mean,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
never had a reason to talk about weed in the city of Ann Arbor. But
Right.
there were things that would happen, and you'd start to watch, and I really got into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I learned politics. I learned how these people would say something,
Yes.
and 2 weeks later they'd be back to reread it, and they all had different attitudes, and they
Yes.
all,
Yes.
I mean, the things that we're all talking about, you can see this happen in this small microcosm of your community, and better yet, if you participate in all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and you know who your community is, you see who the whack jobs are that get up at every meeting and take their 2 minutes and talk about the shrubs on downtown, and they talk about the this and the that and all that.
Right.
Then you see the business community that has to come and get things done. So
Yes,
they come
yes.
in and they're like, listen, we've been part of this community for so long, and we're the backbone, and you owe us this respect. And don't forget, we bring a lot of business, and
Yes.
and they use that power. And
It's
then
fascinating.
the lawyers show up. And
Yeah.
they're like, listen, I represent this and I represent that, and here's what you have to do, and here's what you don't have to do. And these people are just laymen, all of them, most of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was fascinating in East Lansing. So East Lansing and Lansing, neighbors, obviously. East Lansing is kind of known as being a little bit more financially up than Lansing, I think. And I think either the head of the school board of Lansing or the principal of school or somebody was there because East Lansing was giving tax breaks to businesses that fell in kind of the East Lansing proper, but it was part of Lansing School District. And I realized like, oh shit, like East Lansing is kind of on the down low, maybe accidentally taking tax revenue away from the Lansing School District. But they're trying to attract business and money into the area. But in doing so, and he was just there saying, hey, this is what's happening. Did you guys realize that? Are you going to at least build us a playground or something? Like, were you going to talk to me about it at all? And I was like, wow, that's some bullshit. Yeah, like, how are they going to make that right? So, yeah.
Always about the dollars and cents.
Yeah.
East Lansing has traditionally been kind of crazy.
Very much so.
Hey, I want to get back to Weeds and Reeds in a little bit because I know you did one with Ray's
Yes.
near death or death, experience.
Yes.
But we are joined here by Amie Carter and Trish Matson, and
Amie.
of course they are working together on a campaign for Amie to be elected the next representative for the first representative for the newly drawn 68th district. State House rep. And man, Marc Ryan, Big Daddy Tie-Dye, keeps on trying to come in. You got to use a different browser or something. But
What's up, guys?
But they also you do a lot of great work in Lansing on behalf of patients and caregivers and other issues. And we've talked about a lot, and we're at the Regulatory Reform Committee hearing today. We know that 5512 is scheduled to be heard, and anxious for an update.
You want to go, Amie? Do you want me to go?
You can go ahead and go.
Okay. It's been a busy day for us. Amie actually got to use one of her skill sets with me today for my kids' school today. So we had a busy day. So we didn't make it to Lansing, unfortunately. Mr. Richard Clemens did, however, and he did a really good job. They had Judge Hoffman speak. They didn't read all of the, I mean, they didn't even read all the letters that came into the clerk in opposition. All they did is talking about the people who were for it, mostly. Judge Hoffman kept running with the same story. You know, we're trying to make it allowable for medical marijuana patients to go through drug court, where, again, I guess it's just so disappointing because of all the time and energy we all put into it, just to show them that it's not necessary for a judge to make that decision. There was one Senator Pelosi, I believe her name is Tanya Pelosi.
Oh, Hinky, yeah.
Yeah, she did ask a few questions, but she seemed really ignorant about the topic itself. She's like, well, you know, marijuana is a medicine, but I mean, are they just going to sit around and get high? And I'm just dumbfounded by that response. After Judge Hoffman spoke, that was it. There was no reading at the end. Obviously, we're going to have to go back to another committee meeting.
Second reading next week. They'll vote it through.
Yeah.
Very likely.
But you could tell that they didn't read the information that we had sent, because the questions that she asked were answered in a lot of the stuff that we hand delivered and sent in the mail. So I was glad that Richard was there to throw that out there. I was surprised that MICIA, they said that they were neutral on it, which was kind of surprising because I thought that they were opposed to it when I had talked to Robin last time. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, what would they have to
Well,
gain?
and I don't want to really beleaguer that point, because there's probably some communication issues here, and we'll give you know, Cassidy what it might appear to be shade by trying to have this conversation. So I might want to return after I'm able to speak with some people from over there.
Yeah, we're going to actually have a meeting with them tomorrow, actually. So
I don't like neutral because it means you've taken a position. It means that you're not concerned about it. It means that if it passes, I don't give a shit. And if it doesn't pass, I don't give a shit. Reality is, to say you're standing aside because it's not directly your issue is one thing. But to specifically say neutral, I mean, in other words, if you don't want to take a particular position, you stand aside, and then individuals can then say, I really don't like that piece of shit bill or whatever, but our group doesn't really involve itself in that issue, so we're just going to stand aside. But neutral, the intention may be to believe that it's akin to standing aside, but it's not. It's taking a position on it. And if you don't think that you don't give a fuck about it if it passes or not, I just don't like that. I can understand saying we're standing aside because it isn't our issue. But and again, I don't want to make it seem like anybody did anything wrong or bad or anything, because it's likely not the case. And that organization overall has been extremely helpful to us in these processes, and particularly with the anti-caregiver bills.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to be careful about that. And also, I've known many of them for many years and just know that they're not intending to be, negative or in opposition to what we're trying to do. But it would be helpful. It would be awesome if they said, yeah, we oppose this. That would be...
it would be helpful in considering the fact that there are medical marijuana patients that, obviously use their facilities and things like that.
Sure.
I think that, it took me a lot of hours and days and nights of studying and really digging deep into this to actually understand it. It's even more like mind-boggling to listen to them talk about it. And then it's like watching a whole room full of people getting bamboozled because they didn't take the time to do their research. I get it. So it's really hard for anybody else, I would assume, to understand it as well. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm just kind of nervous of what this will do moving forward with other things then. We've had all that discussion about this being a particular type of case. I believe it was in Oregon or Washington, one of the two. Amie and I were talking about it earlier, where the girl had just got cut off Wellbutrin cold turkey. Well, if anybody that has been taking any type of SRI or, depression medication, anxiety medication, especially for 10 years, that messes with your body chemistry. And that's just common sense. So if somebody can walk out of or walk into drug court like that with medical marijuana, what happens when we start trying to use mushrooms? Or if we find a specific moths. You're never going to wait 20 years to see if it's effective when already the current information that exists shows that it has its effectiveness already. So who makes the rules? Who do we find the default? Like, who do we pass that information on to? It's nobody wants there to be any innovation in that situation because it's not good for business. And that's basically what it come down to. So
Spartan asked about it. Press would be interested. I let a couple journalists know about it, particularly one guy who covers Lansing for MLive. And
Well,
there
we
was
could.
there was
Latrisha
some
could get a
interest.
hold of the journalist that she spoke to in Pennsylvania and have that journalist get a hold of somebody in Michigan. So
That'd be
that
cool.
they
What
could
happened with me
understand.
is they had some initial interest. Actually got a hold of me, had a conversation. I thought that I fairly well got some of the points across that's the issue, and then it fizzled out. So just to answer the question,
we might be able to get this guy on the podcast. Actually, his name is Ed Morden or something like that. But it's called the Pennsylvania Spotlight, and he's been following cases that are very particular to this bill for a long time. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Kensington, Pennsylvania, but it's a very large population of homeless addicts, thousands of them actually, and they just lay around like zombies. The worst place you could ever be as a human being.
I didn't even know it was America when I first seen Kensington Beach is what they call it. And I couldn't even believe that it was in the United States, how bad it is. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Kensington, Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania.
They call it Kensington Beach, but there's no beach there.
Yeah, right.
But it's really, really bad. It's hard to watch. It's really bad.
I follow this guy on TikTok that actually created an organization where he goes out with a bunch of people and he goes out and feeds them. And he knows who a lot of them are and whatnot. So I do a lot of marketing work in that direction to help try to get funds to him as well. Just so that way, because they're not treated with dignity. They're all people. They all have a disease. They're all sick. It's the worst it could ever be. And in Pennsylvania, their case, they had 75 plus people waiting in line to go through drug court that were medical marijuana patients. And the particular story of the lady that we followed again down in Pennsylvania, like I was saying, he was the longest time he'd ever spent sober was when he was on medical marijuana. And he'd been in and out of drug court and rehabilitation. I think she said right around 10, 15, and don't quote me on that. I know it was a very long time. She was actually interested in taking him to Peru, tried to see if they could do any type of psychedelic rehabilitation there, but because he was on probation, he couldn't go out of the state and couldn't go out of the country. So that's when they started medical marijuana. Actually worked for him. He made it 11 months, but then he was picked up on probation for a probation violation, and they put him back in jail, and they gave him drug court as a choice. And medical marijuana is actually used within their conditions for rehabilitation. So there was that argument there. So he ended up staying and jumped right out and overdosed 2 weeks later, I think. But so yeah, the basis of the argument is that judges aren't doctors, but even Judge Hoffman in the middle of that hearing was like, well, if somebody walked into my office or my chamber and said, I have epilepsy and I use medical marijuana, would I tell them they couldn't have their medical marijuana? No.
He said,
but then,
probably not. That's
probably
what I didn't
not.
like about that. Probably.
And by the way, Judge Hoffman is a retired district court judge. He was hired to kind of be a judge to help push this. It's not like,
right.
He's actively in the, specialty courts or anything like that, or you
Lobbyist.
actually have that choice to make.
Yeah.
And when he says, when they say that, he's not like saying they're not going. Did they mention the extra hearing that they want to have and that they want to have their doctor give testimony? I mean, was that stuff?
Yeah. Well, that was said by Judge Hoffman. We wrote in our testimonies today, expressing that it was real quiet and it was real silent and it was real quick. So I don't really, because nobody even had any questions for them. So that can only mean two things. Either one, they've already made their decision, or two, they haven't read anything about it and don't know anything about it. Or not, or might not even take it seriously.
So if between this week and next week, is anybody holding them accountable to informing themselves, or what?
Oh, we will be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but like what what good it will do is another story.
I know, but now you know who you have to focus on. I mean, I guess we've always known, but
oh, I'm definitely going to call Palenke's office, or however you say
everybody should be on record
tomorrow morning to see if we can get in there as soon as possible. Her reaction, how she demonstrated her I guess intelligence on the topic was just as well as meeting a stranger who has no clue about anything. So
yeah,
you know, we're just gonna have to go in there and fight a little bit more. But now it's just gonna get to a point where it's gonna be printed and it's gonna be sat in front of their face, because that's the only other next step that you can take.
Who entered the neutral position for MICIA?
Because they announced it. No, they announced it during the meeting. Judge Hoffman announced it.
Well, I thought it was a lady that announced it. They were going through saying
I've been smoking
the testimonies, that came in. Like I heard like Asa was opposed, and they were going through some of the different letters, or different places, and they just said MICIA is neutral on it.
Mm.
So
no,
I felt like I'm like, no, that's wrong. They got that wrong. So I don't know.
Crazy times. A lot of these politicians are just mouthpieces. They're nothing more than puppets that are put there by money. It all comes down to money. These people do not give a fuck what you put in front of them or what influence you try and impose upon them, because it's just going to come down to the more powerful shitbag who is chirping in their ear at the end of the day. Who's going to put more money into their campaign? Who's going to trade? Where's the horse trading going to happen so they can get their agenda accomplished? These are not good people, many of them. And I fear a lot of them started as good people and just became part of this political animal. They get chewed up and their soul gets eaten, and they are just less than human at the end of the day because of the decisions they make at the behest of not being moral and not being right, but what will money buy them at the end of the day? And it pisses me off, to be frank.
You want to talk about money? I got a funny story for you. So we went out to we had the opportunity to be in front of some of the folks from the Michigan Chamber of Commerce who are opposed to, they are for the Cannabis Safety Act. And I feel like it's important.
And that is the Anti-Caregiver Act that we talk about a lot too, just so people don't confuse that, as a euphemism. It's called the Safety Act.
Right. Well, I got to speak with James Sawyer. I'm not sure what his title is there. I talked to him about being from the Weedsters. I just felt like it's important for us, with the work that we're doing right now, instead of waiting for emails to come back, while we have the time and the opportunity and the privilege to get in front of these faces and have these conversations, no matter how you get to them. That was the opportunity that we took, going to the IHAP opportunity to also speak, but also to be able to speak with people who are for these bills. So the Michigan Chamber of Commerce is definitely one of them. After having a conversation with James Sawyer, we had spoke about how we would be able to come in and speak on behalf of the medical marijuana patients and caregivers in the state. Identified that we are strong informative of that information. I hadn't heard back from him. I got an email from him probably about a week ago, and then I received no return back about joining the roundtable conversation they were going to have that he invited us to.
They don't want you there, Latrisha. I'll tell you right now, because
Oh
you
no,
make
they
sense.
don't.
You make sense.
They don't.
Yeah, and
No,
I
they don't.
say,
But here's the thing: he basically turned around and was like, "Well, you know, it's $1,000 membership if you want to come to the roundtable meeting." And I said,
yeah,
"How much is it for nonprofits?" And it's $500. We're going. I don't care what we have to do. But I did tell him, intentionally, our conversation wasn't going to be with like the Chamber of Commerce. It was going to be actually with the director. And then we can decide if we want to bring this conversation to the Chamber of Commerce. We'll pay the $1,000 or whatever the hell we have to do. The fact is that we got to find out if it's even worth it for us to join and give you our money, our valuable money, to join an organization that is against us. That's just ridiculous. So I'm waiting for a response on that. We'll see. I don't know, but we've not really been like very polite about these things. It's just tired. It just gets tiring about beating around the bush. You know what I mean? You just got to show up and say what you need to say. That's how you get things done, typically. But they're going to give us the running around, but we're still fighting for that one right now. And there are a couple other ideas that I have that we'll discuss in a later day or whatever, about some other folks that we'd like to get in front of and talk to face to face, no matter how we get there. So.
you have the heart, you have the passion, that's for sure. I mean, nobody, the way you put your opinions and your facts together, the problem that makes you a threat is you know what the hell you're talking about. And that's the issue, is because anybody who actually grasps the issue and has facts in opposition to what they're trying to accomplish, that's the most dangerous human being, I think, that can face these folks. And so I say keep doing what you're doing. $1,000, I wouldn't spend $1,000 on those people, but hopefully if it could get some good and it can sway, I guess, some perspectives, maybe, but there's a lot of bullshit going on in the background.
Oh no, More Than Hope is going to probably join the Chamber of Commerce.
And there's no reason that the Chamber of Commerce couldn't be in a supportive role with legislation. There's a big enough community now, and I would give you the suggestion while you're meeting with them, you may want to point out that actually, if they were to start putting forth some positive cannabis legislation, that their membership would go up. That there are people who are now not members who would join up in a second if they knew their group now.
Absolutely.
And that's what these people are there to do. Their issue is, they are not issue specific. They are issue orientated. That's the difference. And the reality is that they were against us since the day after we passed medical. But that's because they had influence within their ranks who were already pushing against us.
Oh yeah, there's a lady, I don't even remember what her name is, but I'm going to find out. She was actually the person who spoke during the networking party, just introducing themselves as the sponsor or whatnot. Very beautiful event. I must say thank you very much. But she said one thing that kind of threw me off. And now this is my next level of like research and information that I'm going through. And it was, she made it very, very sharp point to let everybody know that they were pro-business.
Right.
And well, what are you anti then? What are you anti? So you go I'm going to go find out for myself and then see where that conversation can go.
And that's because.
But yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's because they're a business-oriented group. So they claim pro-business. Like, what does that actually mean? Kind of like the Cannabis Safety Act. What does that mean exactly? Safe for who? Who said it
means
was
I can get away with it and you can't.
Right. So, and I understand why that stuff happens. It's called politics. But to what Anton was talking about, yes, these guys and ladies are all shitbags, and they all take money, and they all do shit we hope they wouldn't do and wish they wouldn't do. But guess what? We know what they do. So, that being the case, who can we start supporting? Who can we give money to? Who will do what we want them to do? Well, very few people are one-issue people like me personally, so I'm never going to be a politician. But when you look through someone's bio and they're pro-cannabis, that's your person. I mean, you got to support these people. You got to help them out. Even if you're not going to vote for them, you got to help them out. I mean, it's a new thing. And now people can come out and say that. And we have to support those that do, like Amie, for instance. So
nobody's thinking about. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
No, I just want everyone to send Amie money.
Yeah, here's the thing: is people aren't thinking about.
Please
the future.
send to Amie Carter for money in our campaign. Yes.
Yeah. So Amie, do you have an Act Blue or a link or a way for people to research how to pay you? Place to go?
I'll look for it. I'll send it over in the chat.
Okay. And you do stuff on your Facebook. I think you are muted right now, Amie, if you're trying to talk.
Thanks. Yes, we do have an Act Blue set up, and we also have a website and a Facebook page. And the Facebook page is Vote for Amie Carter, AMIE Carter. Then the website, I think Latrisha will probably send you that link too, but it's Amie Carter, 4, staterep.com.
How's the campaign coming, Amie? How's it progressing for you?
Good. It's going well. It's a great learning experience, definitely. But so far, so good. We're just getting ready to get some signs and stuff printed so we can start, displaying all of it throughout town. Not a lot of signs are out in town. We're getting a few here and there. So I figure it's time to get mine up. But I'm excited. I really, really, really want to win. We have some things that we're planning for the summer to do some publicity and fundraisers and stuff. So I'll keep you posted on that.
How are you?
So far, so good.
How are you assessing your opponent's campaign so far? They're doing just about as well as I am in that aspect. Like when I go to their pages and stuff, it's the one lady that's running against me. She's a news lady, so she did a real nice video, and I need to do something similar, but she's got a lot of different resources that I don't. So other than that, I feel pretty confident. It's a Democratic area. Primarily it's a Democratic area. With the redistricting, there's an incumbent that's a Republican, and I'm not too concerned with it just because I really feel like a Democrat's going to get the seat. So right now I'm worried about the primary. That's my main focus is a primary. So I'm not even really concerned about, what the other Republican opponents are doing. Just kind of looking at the Democratic ones, and really I haven't seen much from the other guy. So really the main one is going to be the news lady. So
tell him I logged out because my phone was dying, but I'm still.
But what I have that I don't really know a lot about the other lady, but I have resilience and I have fought the state. I'm passionate. I set out 10, 15 years ago stating that I was going to make a difference in the mental health care system in Michigan. And I fought through a very horrible time of my life because of my son's severe mental illness and autism. And with what's going on in the schools and everything going on with everything going on, it all boils down to everything that I want to help with the state. I don't want my son to be able to turn 18 and be able to buy a weapon. When I want my son to feel safe going to school, and I've been talking about mental health being taught in schools for quite some time. They started it out in the UK, and it's been successful. As much as we need to learn about physical health, we also need to learn about mental health and the health of our brains. And that needs to start at a young age. You know, I'm talking first grade. 1 out of 5 children die or have some type of mental illness. 1 out of 5 have some type of mental illness, and 1 out of 44 have autism. And the second leading cause of death is suicide between 10 and 22-year-olds. And that is not okay with me. Now we have, you know, the school shootings that are just happening so often. So what do? We don't put in just metal detectors. We have to get to the root of the problem, and we have to teach these children at a young age about anxiety and depression and about these things, so that these children aren't being bullied. They're not feeling singled out, and raise children that, you know these things about life. So that's one of the things I'd like to implement is teaching mental health in schools, getting our schools more secure, and, pro cannabis, of course. And I won't get into the roads and the infrastructure and the energy and, everything else that, but that's all there too. But my main key issues are cannabis and protecting the caregivers and the patients and protecting our state with what we voted on, and mental health care. Those are my 2 main ones. And then I'm also for women's rights, very strongly in that.
And so, just a little bit more specifically about getting to mental health education starting at a young age. Have they been able to catch people at a younger age, therefore give them help sooner and more quality of life thereafter? And I mean, that type of thing has gone on long enough in the UK to know if that type of thing is possible?
What it would do if we were able to teach mental health in schools at a young age, what that would do is it would also be education for the teachers and the staff, and it would allow students to be able to go to their teacher and say, I'm really worried about Billy. We learned about depression. I'm really worried about this child, instead of, picking on the kid, because the kids don't know why Billy's acting different. So it would teach the kids to be able to, have that compassion and be like, oh, we need to let somebody know about this, so that the hope is that the teacher is alerted, the parents are alerted, the kid gets the proper help that they need. If you research on, the school shooters, I forget the numbers now, but I mean, it was significant in the amount of mental illness that was present, and it was significant in the amount of non-treatment or non-recognition that they weren't being treated. So that's kind of what had caught my attention initially when I started researching that is that. And from what I understand with the UK, things are going great. I don't think they have the problems that we do necessarily, but they are glad, and it is a full class that they take. It's not just like a sex ed class where they teach it every so often. It's actually a class at their school, and they actually share a lot of the curriculum with it. So yeah, that's one thing that I see that we need to do.
We are so mentally ill as a society because we don't even realize how mentally ill we all are. I would say, I think everybody at this point, every stage of the game here, has something that's weighing them down. And
I believe that too. Everybody has mental illness, if you want to call it that, but everybody has this, everybody goes through times of depression or anxiety, or the majority of us, but it's when it becomes debilitating to your life, when it becomes so severe that your everyday functions or your thought processes are going, I mean, even a lot of people aren't even diagnosed with like schizophrenia. It's very common in women, but they don't even get diagnosed until like their 20s. And there's there's several different types of mental illness and a lot of comorbid disorders that go along with it. And, you know, if they're not caught at that young age, I mean, if you don't catch some of this stuff, it turns into really bad stuff at the end, like antisocial personality disorder. If, you know, oppositional defiant disorder is not treated, then it goes to conduct disorder, which means that you are hurting other people. If conduct disorder is not treated properly, then it can go to antisocial personality disorder, which there's really no help for. So it's important that we are all on the same page at school and at home.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it sounds pretty simple, something like that. But the other kids recognizing what's going on with another kid, that's really profound, actually. I mean, how many times was I punched, or did I punch somebody else just for acting weird, you know, or something, you know, or whatever, how kids behave with each other in response to this stuff. If there was a little bit more of a heads up, you know, what might be going on, that may begin a lot of extra support and compassion for others earlier for some people. I think that's
anybody who's lived the human experience, who's suffered some sort of loss or gone through some sort of transition in their life has felt depression or anxiety or any of these other feelings that can have an impact in our life. Unfortunately, we've allowed, you know, big pharma to embed themselves like a tick into, you know, into our lives. And the answer is go to the doctor and get the pills a lot of times. And until we agree that that's not working as a society, it's going to continue. And Amie's 100% right. You know, that is profound to have a child have the emotional intelligence to recognize mental health in their own colleagues or their own classmates is profound. And that's what we do need to work towards that. I like that idea.
Thank you. And I actually have a lot more ideas on how we can help the mental health care system by showing accountability and having impactful services versus kind of what they're doing now. I actually felt really good about life. I went and met with Representative Mary Whiteford, and it was a great experience because with all the hurt and anger I had towards the state of Michigan and not helping like I felt like they should, it was very nice to be able to talk to her on things. I felt a big weight lifted, but also I actually taught her things about the mental health care system that she was not aware of, and she was impressed. So that made me feel really great. And that was actually the day that I decided I need to run for office, because I just really admire the work that Mary Whiteford has done. And after speaking with her, and I'm like, I need to do this. So that's kind of how I decided to run.
How's the party been? I know you said initially that you had a lot of support from the Democratic Party. Are they continuing that support, or is that support kind of manifesting into a larger support, or how does that evolution process take place?
It's support when we need it, but no, they haven't sent any volunteers out, but that would be nice.
That's got to be a huge undertaking. Yeah, I would imagine volunteers and do debates pop up? Is that after the primary? Like, how does do you have those scheduled in the future? Or?
No, we haven't really been asked to do any debates. I would imagine probably after the primary would be more ideal for that. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. What was I answering?
About debates.
Debates, yeah.
Are there going to be debates?
There was something else that he asked earlier. What did you say before that? I'm sorry.
I'm high too, so.
No, the support that we're getting, I know, like the support that we're getting from the Democratic Party. We are getting support as in to make sure that the campaign is running smoothly, like we can, on how to file things and do things and, the rules. And there's just a lot that goes into it. But for, volunteers and that type of thing, we are going to be reaching out. We did we have a list together. And if you currently you're not on that list and you want to help volunteer in any way, on the website, there is a link that says volunteer or help. And just fill that out, because we are going to be hitting the streets soon to do that. And I know a lot of people are super busy. There's a lot going on right now, and gas prices are ridiculous. So I get it, but we do need the support and the help. So we have 2 months, and I have to make it past this primary if I'm going to make it past the next one. So
Primaries are where things are really going to get shaped, and we could get so many better decision makers in there this term, and by November. We work with the primary first and then carry that into the general election. There's a lot of opportunity that Amie's got a legitimate chance of winning this thing.
She
Take
does.
support and help and all that kind of stuff, but it's real,
Well, even with the circus of an election that we're going through right now in the first place anyway, also, like, realty is real, and this is, Genesee County seems like it's a big county, but a lot of people know each other around here one way or another. All share a lot of the same culture and values as far as it goes, living in the living area and whatnot. So, I think it was I think we got 4 Trump campaigns that were actually funded through the Trump campaign. And then we have a couple that's running opposite of each other. One's running on Democratic side, one's running on the Republican side, but I believe they do that as a joke. Not kidding. Yeah, and
So,
I'm
like,
not kidding. Right.
they did this MLive article on them, and it was called because they did this like 2 years ago, and it says cats, dragons, and politics. Meet the couple running for the same seat. So.
It's interesting. And then there's what's her name again?
Kristen?
No, Kristen Swanson's on the Republican side.
Sherry?
Sherry Hardman.
Yeah,
Sherry
that is
Hardman. I think it's Cherie, to be honest with you, but just to be correct. She did work for a news channel, not in this local area though. So was it?
Yeah, she was 25. Or WNEM, yeah.
Well, they're everywhere though.
Yeah.
I thought that was more
she's
Detroit.
no, she's Genesee County,
Oh.
100%.
I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
But she's a news lady.
Right.
I'm
So she's got friends in places, and
Yeah.
we'll see. All 3 of the cities that are connected are very distinctly different. So it's a definite battle of finding the right people in the right places. The tax brackets change. The only thing that doesn't change really is the people, really. There's generations of manufacturer workers out here. So you get a lot of the same people. It's probably the most democratic district in the state.
Right on.
You said there's 4 Trump campaigns that they're trying to run out of there?
There's actually 5 running, but 4 of them are under, they're funded by the Trump campaign. So before the redistricting started, we had already started planning on getting as many people that we could collaborated in a list that are going to run for the House this coming election, like a long time ago. And as I was digging through you and putting them in the sheets in each district, you can go to their websites and you can see, well, so this campaign was paid for and by the Trump administration or Trump campaign. And then when you go into the list that they actually have of people who registered at that time, it tells you who also funds that as well. So it all came out to be the same string. So it's happening all over the country. That's why we just lost 3 senators, or people that are running for senators.
How's the fundraising going? Or do you have, are you holding any fundraisers in the summer at all? Or how's that been going?
Yeah, we do have plans. We have some local plans too. The fundraising events that we're going to have, though, we're still making a choice on a location, and that location will also determine on time, and then that location will determine what we can and we can't do. So we do have some places thought out, and we've communicated with different restaurants and probably union halls and whatnot in the area because it's just the easiest place for the public to go, and they're very open to letting people that are running as a candidate use that space. So
Boots
because
on
you
the
can only
ground.
spend so much, you can't spend like a ton of money on that. Like that's the rule. So you're strategic with your budget. You're strategic with the donations that are coming in, your in-kind donations, when it needs to be in, how much one person can give you.
Yeah, like one person can only give you $1,050, and then if somebody wants to like say, oh, I can give you this hull that I usually rent for $1,000, I can just give that to you for an in-kind donation, but I want to give you $500 cash. They can't do that. They could only give $50 in cash if it's $1,000 value of the in-kind donation. So, and you can't take any money from businesses. It has to be from the business owner. If the business
It's
owner
the
wants to.
exception is an LLC or a PLLC, but you still need all the owners, personal information to go along with it.
Right.
I don't know what the limits are for those. Might be like up to
1,050.
4,000 or something like that.
Yeah, 1,050. Yeah, and that's combined for the campaign year. For the campaign, for in kind and cash. So.
But just go to this
Campaign
link
finance
that we
law.
put up in the chat and throw Amie 1,050 or up to that amount.
Yes.
Please and thank you.
Getting a college course in campaign finance law, right?
So let's say this for sure. I don't know, like this could be watched later on by somebody too, which is still going to be within easily enough time to make this useful, or anybody who happens to be checking this out right now. These guys need to do some printing for promotional materials for this campaign. A few $100, and that can go a long way for this type of stuff. Somebody can just throw in with the idea of really helping out this printing project to help promote the campaign and move it into the next level. It's time to start getting signs and have handout materials, start knocking on doors. Anybody wants to volunteer too, but just talk about money right now. Jump on that link, get a hold of Amie, go to the website, do something, help out with this printing cost. That's not much, and it really perpetuates the campaign at this stage.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the video endorsement, are you talking about for the campaign, or are you talking about?
Campaign.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
Thank
Trish
you.
Trish and I had this idea, and it's only going to work though if we can get people to do it. And it'd be really cool. A lot of people we talked about the endorsements a few episodes ago, and it's a lot for those endorsements, and they're all big companies and stuff. And I thought, we're like, it'd be cool to get endorsements from everyday people that know me, so we would like if any one of you or anybody that's watching would just take a short video and say who you are and say why you support my candidacy and why I need to be in Lansing, and why Latrisha and I, because she's coming with me to Lansing when I get elected. So
I'm Richard.
she's my Richard.
So a lot of people know Representative Johnson and how Richard Clement, Mr. Free the Weed, is her weed expert. And so when Amie says that, she's referring to a penis, obviously.
We were in Lansing one day. We had just left Richard's office, and I'm like, "You're gonna be my Richard." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I am."
That is fucking funny. We love Richard, by the way. He is the man.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is awesome.
He did very well testifying in committee today. I was very proud of him.
And was that broadcast on like Senate TV?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a recording of it. You can go back and watch it. It was very short. Just a little fast forwarding.
But back to the video. So if anybody wants to make a video, please send it to us, and we'll put it out there.
What
for an
email address
endorsement.
should they email it to?
I would say info@Amie Carter for state rep.
It's a number
Yeah.
4.
Number 4.
Amie Carter, number 4, state rep.
Or just contact us on Facebook, or on our email, website, any of that. It doesn't have to be a long video, or even a picture of yourself and the words that you want. But we wanted to put together like our own little campaign of local, people that have known me, people that have watched, the successes that I've had and downfalls I've had and how I've dealt with them, or whatever you guys want to say about me. So
Just make sure it's good.
and
Okay.
appropriate, Adam.
Right. I don't know if you heard it or
I
not.
don't think he did.
Are you searching for, I'm assuming, for endorsements as well? How's that? That's a whole nother process as well, correct?
It is, yes. I submitted quite a few of them. Some of them, they don't really specify whether it's endorsement that you're going to get for the primary or if it's an endorsement that you're, going to get for the general election, because some of them hold out those endorsements until after the primary. So, there's that. But
Have you been having a lot of conversations with folks within the cannabis community? I know we're lucky, like in our community with the MICIA, who have been very supportive of a lot of the things that we've done. And so we do have some of these good entities that are rallying on behalf of not only issues that matter, but people that can kind of bring those issues to the forefront. And they're just one organization, but I know the cannabis community is kind of a tight-knit family, and we all lend you our support. How's that been going?
Well, we have talked to G3C because that's right in the area. They're not in my district; they're just outside of it. Same with Vehicle City. But a lot of people that go in there in the cannabis community are, do live in the district. I mean, I could literally throw a baseball to Vehicle City from my district. It's just not in there. So, but they've been very supportive, and I know that G3C, they were talking about maybe doing something up there soon. We went and visited every grow shop and every dispensary in the district and just introduced ourselves on 420. We did that. So I feel like we do have the support from the cannabis community in our area here.
That's important. Yeah.
So I know the cannabis caucus, in the general, it would be. I can't officially speak for everybody, but I am fairly 99% certain would get get our endorsement for sure.
That's badass. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
Plus, of course, the Republican you're running against turns out to have a lot better position on the issue.
What are the chances of that? Wouldn't that be? That would just make that would just like the upside down world. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, even after the district changed, it still stayed anywhere. I think it was like in the 60 percentile of Democratic voters.
And do the Republicans have a few people vying in the primary to get started off with this new district too, or is there just one or two, or what's the other side looking like?
There's five. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I haven't looked recently, but a lot of people have been dropping out left and right in a lot of areas, and that's something a lot of people should pay attention to right now. That's why we keep on pushing that with the weedsters too. Is pay attention to who is running in your area. There are certain places where there's only two people. Like, you have a choice. And it's not just important, obviously, for cannabis. It's important for a lot of things, obviously. But if that's something that people are interested in, that is something I would look into, because right now there are so many areas that are so underrepresented that are having their choices made for them or not made for them at all. It's just being done from a different district because there's some vacant seats there still. So there are a lot of places that just take what they can get. And if you're in one of those places, you should find that out and definitely take a step in the right direction and do us all a favor and help this country turn around a little bit. I'd agree.
We need it.
Every step is a grain of sand.
We need as much help as we can get right now. And you
Yes,
know what?
sir.
Unfortunately, I don't know if we've hit rock bottom. I kind of wish we have, but I don't know if we're there yet. So it's going to be incumbent upon leadership going forward to make a stance, because the direction is not going well.
By the way, Richard brings up Roger Hawk here, Representative Hawk. People know him from the Regulatory Reform Committee in the House. He heads that up. He pushed through those shitty bills. I think I mentioned this last week. I did, actually. But just reiterate again, I was at an MICIA luncheon, industry kind of a lunch and discussion, and he was there with some other representatives, and he said that he no longer held the same position about the caregiver bills that he did when he was pushing them through. So hopefully that will be the case if they are successful in running this out of the Senate and it gets back to the House, because that could be strong if somebody like him is actually in that position. So we'll try to hold him to that. Another good work by the MICIA to invite him and put some pressure on him a little bit,
They do a lot of work. How many accounts are there? Up to probably 400 licensees, I would assume.
It was 350 plus as of a few weeks ago. So, who knows?
I mean, they've done a lot of work in the community, and it seems like if you can get a guy like that to change his mind, we'll have to have Rick there gaveling him just to kind of remind him. You know what I mean? Like, if you can get a guy like that to change his tune, I don't know, maybe anything's possible. But
Red Setter says he's going to get to Vehicle City and GC3 this summer, so that's good news for people there. Yeah, but we'll see. People say a lot of shit, man. I always, I talked earlier. I'm very aware of and sensitive to how words are used in Lansing. And they don't always mean what you believe they should mean when you're hearing them. And that's by
$1
design.
for every time you've been lied to. You'd probably be a rich man, Jamie, if you had $1 for every time one of those people lied to you. Huh?
Well, I mean, I got away from that whole scene for a while. And speaking of MICA, I will tell you that Robin stayed in there and stuck it out and took a lot of shit for it, and had to deal with going in an opposite direction that the community wanted to go in for a while, in terms of working on the commercial medical stuff. And but it all turned out to come back, together, and to be the foundation that helped to really push some other things. So that was good too.
She stepped in the ring a few times she's taken a few lumps over the years. It seems like she's resilient though.
You can't win. I mean, if you want to be out there and be a part of something and actually pushing something, an idea or a project, a campaign, an initiative, for or against something, you're going to subject yourself to the scrutiny and those who have a different idea. And we are a pretty diverse and opinionated kind of a community, and those things are going to go down. There are many times though when we kind of cross paths right at that point where we all can kind of stand behind pushing something in a particular direction or working against something, and kind of wish we could have brought that together with 5512. But man, that would have been quite a task. We're up against some really formidable forces with that one, and the other stuff too. But we were able to get in on that a little bit earlier before, again, help to people already in Lansing, such as Robin and others who, helped to pave the way for that information and to get some meetings started and some other stuff. But yeah, that's a difficult one. I know that Trish brought up earlier, like, what does this mean? What does this, the shitty policy means? What could it lead to? And that still remains to be seen. And, of course, we're going to be a little, nervous about that. But this particular situation alone is just so strong on the side of the people that are pushing this bill, just objectively from how these processes work. And they hired GCSI. That's like a top 2 or 3 lobbying organization in Lansing. They have a bunch of judges. They hire these retired judges to come speak there. I mean, it's difficult to say the least, to try to counteract that type of stuff, even with the truth, even showing up with facts. I think, as Tricia also mentioned, they probably didn't, the staff and the senators probably never even actually read those things, just kind of took tabs of who was for, who was against. So
Yep. It's
We've been,
you know,
we've
for the
been
longest time. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trish.
oh,
Yeah, please
sorry.
go ahead.
We've been actively, I actually just emailed Richard back. He's like, you better get him. I was like, Richard, we have knocked every door, sent email to everyone, navigated to find the clarification, made the communications with all the different organizations of government that we needed to do, got a news reporter, a written testimony. You know, every $100. Basically, it's if you go into like the lines of evidence, you can take a look at different cases, something similar like this, and the line what wins these type of situations. So it's basically I read the line of evidence that would make that hopefully make our point across. You know, it's just surprising. You know, it's my first throw at this type of way of collecting information and thinking. And I just like I said, I'm going to be completely surprised if there's not any more conversation about this. So, because currently, right now, Pennsylvania made the same mistake, and they're getting sued right now too as well.
So there is a basis of suit. I didn't, conceive of it myself. I was on like an email discussion with some bunch of lawyers asking questions about this, hearing what they have to say about it, et cetera. And there was a theory about how the state, makes medical cannabis, a particular class of people. If you do this, if you state recognized process, you become one of these people type thing, and then create a way in order to harm them. Later is there's a legal theory in that. What was the case actually about? What was the challenge about in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania?
The Pennsylvania argument all still stems from the fact that the clarification has been made and that they still pass the rule anyway. So I believe there's a handful of attorneys. I would really like to see if I can get Susan Usserman to come on the show for you too as well and talk about that in completion.
Man, love
she
to
would be the best person.
Yeah, love to delve into this more. I mean, right now we might be able to feel better about this loss, knowing that we have some other shit to work on. That's just psychologically to try to keep it going. When you get drained by this effort,
we're going to email together to see if you guys can coordinate something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome because we get deeper into this issue and to look in terms of what other things may parallel a potential suit that might come out of our own state, and just to hear the story anyway, I'm interested in. But certainly, if anything useful is there, that would be a bonus. I'm definitely interested in that and appreciate that a lot. But that might be the thing to look forward to now. I mean, defeats come with the territory, but they suck. And then when you've worked hard, as you guys have, and as I have, and others have, it's it doesn't feel good to know that effort doesn't seem as though it was really recognized or taken into consideration.
Just means they got to work harder. That's all.
Yep. But here's a way too. I feel like a little bit more energized knowing that there's another avenue to explore.
I'm going to Dan Kilden's office this week too.
Yeah.
His office is actually located downtown Flint. We might lose you guys. If we disappear, it's because Amy's phone is dying and mine did. So
okay.
But yeah, I contacted Gary Peters on the topic. After we talked, the
Gary Peters is one of our U.S. senators.
Rabbi actually was the one that told us to communicate with him too as well. I emailed him twice and I haven't got a response. So I'm assuming it's just because he's jam-packed full of important things. So I'm just going to go to his office because he's always downtown. So
yeah,
chase him down that way. See what kind of recommendation that I can get from him.
Right. Well, good. Appreciate all the research and the subsequent efforts and connections you make. Yeah.
We got to know what they're doing to know what to do and what next steps are going to be. And it's just one of those things, like we were saying, Adam was with us over at the Big Cloud event over the weekend, and we had spoken on a panel. It was actually really nice too. And Amie and I had discussed a lot, especially in the past, about just the fact of the protection of a people's initiative. And there's only 36 states in the country that actually do initiatives, and some of them are only direct. So there's the direct and then the ballot.
Mhm.
There's only 2 states out of those 36 that will, let's say, for example, if anybody wanted to amend the Medical Marijuana Act, they would have to actually put up a new ballot to do so. So there's no way that they can amend or recommend changes or anything of that nature without actually doing a ballot initiative to change it. So that is one thing that I know is my personal story, the journey that I'm going to move towards and start learning about the pros and cons of that idea, and then start doing whatever I can do at this point. If it becomes a positive situation, I think that would be great for the state of Michigan, because it strengthens your state's ability to make their own. You know how they're always saying giving powers back to the state. Well, you're giving our cat laws back or rules back, but you're not giving. They're not letting people that keep them or that actually worked hard to keep them within the state guidelines and within their residencies without any interruptions. And you can do a million of these initiatives, and it can just get completely dismantled that quick. One change in the Medical Marijuana Act through a Judicata Act is sooner or later going to be an amended Judicata Act, and then it's going to have some type of other, I'd say, amendment issue in the Medical Marijuana Act. So it's just going to keep going and going and going. So that would be, I think, a very beneficial thing for the state. That way we can start really making some ballot initiatives that actually are positive for our state as residents here. It gives more power back to the people. And of course, every year there's a ballot initiative for the same thing. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted on it. It's my new journey. A rabbit hole of things.
Meanwhile, you are also helping to try to get a better decision maker amidst the numbers that are going to be in Lansing in the next session, and get a lot more done if there's a lot more reasonable people there too. So
yeah,
that is a worthy endeavor as well. And those are the ways we affect change. I think everybody's happy that you're on it and looking at this stuff. I am particularly interested to find out what a post passing of 5512 challenge could look like and how viable it may be. That gives me a little bit of energy in the midst of this, certain pending defeat on this stupid bill. But you know what? We did the proper thing, or continue to do the proper thing, and that is be on record with good information. And at some point it may mean something. There's no reason not to do it, even if we kind of don't like the way that the odds look at the moment. So I'm admitting that I kind of don't like the way it's going to go. I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody from continuing to go for it. And in the Senate, I think we need 6 or 7 people to say no. Get the right one or two.
I'm sorry. I apologize. It's got a little crackling noise. I couldn't tell if you were talking. But also, I started a FOIA for the anti-caregiver bill. I contacted the Michigan State Police Department to see if I can get a record of some sort to find out how many calls they did on mass grows. And I'd say, because it's really hard to codify or characterize that particular situation. So I had to go around and look at what the state police code would be for that. I requested the information, and they came back saying that it doesn't exist. So I put in the proper verbiage this time around to help them see that we can get those numbers, because those numbers are going to be important at the anti-caregiver bill, because they were talking about how big of a problem is it. Well, how big of a problem is it? And how come you know? If you know, where's the proof? Because I can tell you this much: I'm not getting it that well, and there was nobody that was there.
They talk all the time about all the problems that it causes. And like Adam says, where's the bodies?
Right.
Why?
Prove
If
it.
there were a problem, if this really were a problem, if it hurt kids, would a bunch of really reasonable, compassionate people care so much about making sure that this stuff was accessible? I mean, at large, I don't think so. I think
Could you
really hurt kids, I don't think we'd be jumping on board in the
well
way
wait
we are here.
wait could you imagine if it was as dangerous as they claimed it was, and those of us that thought it had the benefits it did, how it would change how we had to make our argument?
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be arguing for our medicine, and yeah, maybe we'd all have to have gun safes in our house to lock it up. And there'd be this part of the industry that was selling gun safes because everybody was convinced that this stuff was some horrible thing that needed to be protected. And, you know, it would be a different argument that we'd be making. We wouldn't be making this argument that we make, that it's completely harmless. And again, as I say, where are the bodies? But where's the negative
He's got the weed.
connotations? Because all the negative they've ever been able to show has been a lot less than they claimed it was. Driving and shit like that. Actually, now we're starting to get
or not even at all. Just like people can feed it, people automatically who aren't as familiar and experienced and knowledgeable of this issue as many of us are right here, oftentimes and innocently kind of equate cannabis use with the feeling of alcohol, something that they are used to, something they do know about. And a lot of those traits then cross over, and you'll hear people say, "Oh no, you can't drive on it. You can't let the kids." That's all based on this
alcohol.
image. And of course,
Right.
that's not a good representation of cannabis. A completely different substance that works in a completely different way.
And like I like to point out all the time, you can drive on cannabis. We all do, we all have, and we all will. And so do thousands and tens of thousands and millions of other people. So
No
that's
question.
the reality of it.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding when I say I drive better when I use cannabis.
Nate,
Not
we're gonna
exaggerating.
log out and log back in with my phone.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, it's a little crackly. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see
Yeah.
I'd like to see a real study one day of the negative effects of, not legal cannabis, because I don't know why there'd be a difference, but just cannabis in general. And
I remember, man, I was at a hearing in the Senate. And I forgot what the committee was. It could have been Judiciary. Now that I think about it, and this was back in the Senator Jones days when he was chair, and it might have been his bars thing. It might have been something else. I'm not sure. He did all types of stupid shit in that setting. Gersh was there, peanut butter, and man, I can't remember if he did it or not. He was talking, but so long ago now. Anyway, the point is, he had the discussion, was prepared to have the discussion, and seriously offer to have Jones or somebody ride with him in a car on a closed track while he was driving, and repeatedly, just smoke tons of joints so he could demonstrate to them.
I remember that.
I remember going out and hanging out with Representative Calton before he turned on us and earned his nickname of Benedict Calton. He was hanging out with us a lot. He would drink while we would smoke.
Right.
And he would make comments all the time about like how much we could smoke without like
Becoming drunk.
just getting totally excessively fucked up. In a similar, because he was making that equation between what he was familiar with and cannabis. So
there's also been the recent uptick. You get some of these whack jobs now trying to connect cannabis with shootings and shit like that, and that just drives me nuts because, I mean, come on. And there's been several news reports of just people coming out of the woodworks now trying to connect these two issues, and there's just zero correlation. I think from a data standpoint too.
I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm gonna tell you an even bigger problem that I see is the cannabis associated with auto death. Because now they test where they never used to test. Now they're looking for those cannabis-related deaths. And why are they cannabis-related? They're cannabis-related because in your fat ass, there's some THC metabolites trapped in your fat ass. You may not have smoked for 3 weeks, but you're going to qualify as a cannabis-related death. once you do that, I'm sorry, you negate every. It's kind of like putting the guys that urinate in public on the sex offenders list. You kind of water down the purpose of the list. Because I'm not really worried about the guy that needed to pee in public. I'm worried about the guy that's committing sex crimes. So you can't equate things and ever expect people to look at them the same. And again, the government, they're good at trying to play the okey doke on us. And this is one issue they're having a real hard time with.
Science hasn't caught up yet. It's going to be years before actuals, because we need research, and they still don't want to do research because it's federally illegal. So until,
but there is research, Anton. There's been research.
Sure.
There's been research since the 50s, 60s, 70s. And the problem is they got rid of it. They wrote it back out of their laws and their history. And now, yeah, they have to redo all the research because they don't have anything that they can look back on. But even the people doing the research know that this has been done before. You know, it's kind of like, it's almost kind of like the politicians are this special kind of stupid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like
I just said that to Amie today too.
they're not even like the special people in our world who may not quite get it because their brains aren't right. Okay, and we all understand what that's about, and that's okay, and we'll always treat them with kid gloves because these are crooked people. These are people that obviously get it because they're playing a game. But they just become like this, again, special kind of stupid. You know, what? They don't think we're going to figure this out?
They're willfully ignorant.
Yes. Willfully ignorant. And then at the same time, too, not really. You know what I mean? It's just like that's the scoop of the brain fog, you know?
But they're like super stupid on this issue. Other issues they're not so stupid on. Because, see, there's money involved. There's game involved. There's politics involved. It's been around for a while. They figured out how to get their hooks in it. You know, they haven't gotten into this yet, these politicians. Just wait 10 years from now. Here, mark my words. 10 years from now, some of these sons of bitches whose names we're talking about, like Mr. Houck, you're going to be buying weed from his dispensary.
You're not lying. You're not. There's
remember old John Boehner?
Now.
Right.
Look at John Boehner, the former Speaker of the House. Didn't he bailed ship as Speaker, and then he's in the industry doing something somewhere, right? I mean, hey, at the end of the day, the almighty dollar is
I think some of these turned out ones are going to actually start lobbying first. Some of them probably already have a loop on the lobbyist situation. It's all that these lobbyists are. When they have the inside information about how to work the game and work as a lobbyist, they make a lot more money than having a cannabis business. That's for sure. So there is a bill out there that you should vote on and oppose or be for, and I'll get that number out to you guys here soon. The bill recently says that anybody that finishes their terms in the state of Michigan, no matter what their position is, they can't be a lobbyist for 2 years. And that is definitely something that we need.
I mean, it should go further than that, but that'd be a step in the right direction. Yeah.
I agree.
Incremental change.
They should figure out how long you have to be out of an industry before you're useless, and they should make it 1 year longer than that.
It's like insider trading. How is it any different than insider trading?
Of course.
Lobbying itself is something that can be
their First Amendment, right?
Being eliminated. I spend millions of dollars a year just taking lawmakers out and getting close to them, and and creating a better opportunity to be able to discuss these issues and influence them.
And
whoever hires them.
The sad thing is, if we had the money, we'd be willing to pay too. Because that's how it works.
That's how it works, but
they
hire a lobbying firm to push through a law that eliminates lobbying. That'd be good.
I mean, if he wasn't such a cocksucker, I'd try to hire Linder to do it. That'd be funny.
Hire Linder to do it. Take everything with you, man. Come on, this is your last shot at it.
Yeah, wanted to retire? Here, retire off of this. Fucking dickhead.
They listen to you, obviously, man. Come on.
I'm kind of wondering if if we did join the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, that they would be lobbying for us then at that point, because that's exactly what they do. I wonder if just paying some money might change that. Now that we're talking about it,
Well, there's probably a membership, and then there's probably a way that majority decides which way they swing on certain issues. I don't know.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, if 150 or 100 businesses signed up tomorrow, and they had an issue, they'd have to pay some attention to it. Something. I mean, it's all about numbers. And, numbers mean something. And that's why my argument is, listen, if you guys are willing to push some, if you're looking for numbers and you were to push some pro-cannabis ideas, here, look at the map. Look at all the communities that need you. Look at all the communities that need more, not less. I mean, that's what they're about.
Make it more of a positive experience as it grows in comparison. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Right. That's what they're about.
It's like we just suck the joy out of everything,
And you have to understand that all Chamber of Commerces are not the same. They're just corporations. My wife actually worked for the Troy Chamber of Commerce at one point. But like the Detroit Chamber of Commerce, for instance, that's an organization that resells health insurance. That's really what they do. We were members in my family business for years because it gave us a discount on our health insurance. But they don't really do anything for you. You would never hang the plaque they give you in your.
Some of those chambers of commerce do synergy meetings and networking and some shit that makes sense.
It all depends on what their local thing is. The state chamber of commerce, they're more of this lobbying type of organization that influences legislation. Bye, Amy.
Bye, everyone. I have to go.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you.
Amy's leaving us.
Yes.
Pissed.
I got things to do.
Not
all right. Thanks for being with us, Amie. Really appreciate the info.
Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you. And people send her money.
Send her lots of money. Well, how much can we send her?
1,050.
Speaking of sending her money too, it's nice to hear that. That would be nice to get it from the space of the people in cannabis. But one of the things I wanted to share today is kind of like my own testimony, and especially when it comes down to the kind of information that people need to understand to be able to help navigate and work through the mental health system. Right now, currently with my children, we are working getting an IEP for my son. It's pretty, there's a wealth of a lot of parents doing that right now since
Explain what that stands for.
Sorry?
What does that stand for?
That's an intermediate educational program that basically does more one-on-one when there are some issues in academics. And it's just basically like a tutor, somebody who will be able to take the extra step with that person why they're having some issues, it's comprehension a lot. A lot of people have to have physical interaction. The energy interaction. My kids we're not really great on the whole sitting at home and doing their homework on a computer at all. And so I had that meeting today, and she came over to sit through with me today, and just to kind of be like my advocate. And I don't know anything about this stuff, so she was really able to ask questions that I would have never even thought to ask, like where can this child go for safe space if they're having anxiety? This is going to be a huge problem for students now, everywhere. Is there a safe place or a safe teacher or something of that nature that they can remove themselves from that situation and go to to get back into the right state of mind? I would never thought about that. at all? Are they allowed to be excused if they're having an anxiety, like some type of anxiety? Because we don't want them to constantly use anxiety as an excuse to get away with shit, because kids are going to do that no matter what. But half of the testing that they did and that they found, I would have never even realized I had the opportunity or privilege to even be able to get it. But it was very beneficial having here or there. And that is exactly some of the things that people need. I'm not the only person with children like this. There are thousands and thousands of people
a lot of things that don't make
still
somebody
behind
feel
on our
like
academics. And there, of course, have been a shift in the universe, and people are starting to realize that whole indoctrination is useless and unsafe. But the bottom line is just that they still need to teach the stuff in school. They're just basically burying each other right now in school. It would be so horrible to be in school right now.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I have a teenage daughter, and I feel for her. And what I don't think people are discussing, it takes months to get in with a mental health professional in this state right now. Months. If you are in severe distress, months. They're not there. There's not enough. There's just not enough people, right? So it's not being discussed enough what's going on with the children.
We do need people to start paying attention to shit that's actually going to help things out, not who makes something where or gives somebody some power somewhere else or whatever these things are actually motivated by. And somebody's going to give a shit about what's actually best for, those of us who are living out in the real world are the type of people I want to see in those positions.
Yeah,
Obviously,
we only have 7 mental health hospitals in the state. And I'm sure that's probably about the same for veterans hospitals too.
Oh, it's horrible. It's right now. Right now, it's like, when I spoke to the VA, this was last month, they basically said, don't wait for us to call you. We'll just, it's months, 5 months, I think, right now to see a mental health doctor at the Detroit VA. That's what I was told. And I'm 100% service connected for post-traumatic stress. And they're just, good luck to you, basically. That's the sentiment, just because they just don't have the people. It's just not a thing.
Oh, yeah. Waiting lists for months. I've watched and listened to other parents who had some similar experiences as Amie does with Jaden, and there's just not even protection for parents either. That, like Mr. Thames was saying, they're the lowest paid jobs. We should be paying these people a lot of money, and there should be lots of them.
And
our priorities get skewed, by
the other thing is, as of late, the last couple of years with COVID, it's my understanding that the old psychiatrists and psychologists were being forced to work, and they said, fuck this, and they all retired, which meant that what are they doing? They're hiring young kids who are now getting out of school, who are taking over, who just don't have the experience.
There's no specializing anymore. There's no really, like these therapists. I should say no. It's just limited now.
No,
like
it's
this
catch-all
social work thing, and then somebody has to really care to be a good therapist instead of just,
And here in Michigan, you got to remember that Governor Engler closed the mental hospital.
Yeah,
he was governor, and overnight, tens of thousands of people were wandering the streets. Not necessarily in the streets, but we're no longer reporting to a doctor regularly. We're no longer under medical care. In Detroit, something like 10,000 people a day were coming in to get medication, who then were no longer getting medication. Crazy number.
That was such a weird time, man. And I like the idea of teaching kids about this early. It just made such sense when Amie was talking about it. So we're within a couple of minutes here. Trish, is there anything else you want to make sure that you get in before we wrap up?
You're muted, Trish.
You're muted. Sure, it was awesome. Repeat.
Sorry about that. Every time I try to walk away so my dogs won't bark like crazy, it ends up happening anyway. Just watch out for your friends, man. That's literally what I'm saying. This is like, we're kind of in this for ourselves at this point. There's not enough services out there available to people who need them. It's come close to my heart because I've born and raised in Flint, Michigan, lived in Flint during the water crisis.
Just watch out for your friends. Just make sure that you guys, if you have an opportunity to look in some bills for mental health, those that know how to do it anyway, just kind of take a look and see what the details are in that. They are trying to take parents' rights left and right when they have children that have special needs that are aggressive, and putting them in foster care and taking away parents' rights and then charging them with abandonment and then making them pay child support because there aren't services or opportunity available for kids like this. So they get thrown in the system and they recycle back out and they don't have anywhere else to go. So they usually go back to jail because there's nowhere else to take them in the state. And it's just time for our laws to be a little more
We don't pay
compassionate.
attention to it. We don't offer support for it. We don't have any recourse for people, and we need
Right.
all those things. So
We're definitely in urgent need. Our state should be under a state of emergency, I believe,
right.
because of it.
Our priorities are so fucked, man. It's
Mhm.
this kind of stuff just helps to expose it. Anton, you anything else before?
No, just let's be kind to everybody and let's make some sort of progress that's positive. I guess stay positive. That's what I end with.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the reality is that in this country, mental health is a big deal, both as a business and as a problem. And unfortunately, they don't seem to be on the same path to maybe fixing each other. So we definitely have to look out for each other. The suggestion that some of these societal problems are really mental health problems does not go unnoticed. And you know, society has to step up and take care of each other. So I would always want people to look after each other and you know, do the right thing.
That's better than consistently just fucking with each other. That's for sure. And this level, this awareness, it just has to happen. I think a lot of people think they kind of have a clue about it, but there's a lot more to it, and be a little bit more tolerant and understanding, I think, is the message that I'm hearing from you guys, and I agree with that. Well, we're a little bit over. Another good show. Thanks everybody for coming on. Rick slipped on for a minute with Nobo and Redemption and others. Marc Ryan really tried to get on Big Daddy Tie-Dye, but the technical stuff got in the way a little bit. Thanks to have John. John says anybody mentions this show, they get $5 off. They want to show up at the big Lincoln Bash on Trask Lake.
Cool.
Northeast Michigan, Northeast. And then Amie obviously was joining us for a while. Shelly was on here with us. I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody, but thanks everybody. And we'll be back again next week. Jazz Cabbage Cafe. See you guys.
Peace.
Peace.